he just Calhoun could spit, man. I really like this guy. He has a really East Coast type of style. I really enjoy that. But yes, so far so good. I haven't heard anything too controversial. I wonder how this is gonna tie into the racism theme. So let's get back into this video.
What the fuck you rapping for? Nigga ass nigga got your sagging pants with your ass hanging out the back, hanging out in front of lick.
What's up, everybody? It's your man with the plan, and I'm back with another video. And today, you can see that thumbnail, you read that title, and this one's gonna be a barn burner. It's gonna be a challenging video. It's gonna be a video that sparks a lot of conversation. I'm gonna challenge a lot of views today, and I'm going to have some real talk with y'all, and it's going to be a beautiful thing. And I may gain some subscribers, I may lose some subscribers, but I have to give you my raw, unedited, honest views on this. And Calhoun is a great artist. I love him. I love his music. Shout out to him and Upchurch and the Creek Squad and everybody in that genre doing their thing over there. New to me and incredible artists. And he did a racism joint. So I want to hear his thoughts on it. I want to have a conversation, obviously, with that. We're going to obviously, I'm going to pause between each verse. So just know that if you want to see the original one, you've probably already seen it and you probably come here just for the commentary. So that's what we're going to get into. So I don't want to waste no more time. You already know what to do. Let's get into this reaction.
Hillbilly.
Yeah, let's go.
Franco. Nigga.
What?
White trash.
Oh, what?
What the fuck you rapping for? Cracker ass cracker, got your rebel flag with your camo hat backwards. Stains on your shirt with your fucked up teeth. Piece of shit truck broke down middle of the street. Old lady bitchin' in the passenger seat, smoking like a chimney. Kids in the back can't breathe. Got a kid on her lap, smack his ass if he speaks. Always wearing white beaters cause her ass getting beat. Okay, that's white trash, but what about a hillbilly? Redneck motherfucker, never even near a city. Out in the woods, hunting deeper than the wolves. Get that big old buck, bring them home, eat until they full. Or they out in the shed, on the side drinking shine. Old lady bitchin', better bring your ass inside. It's way past 9, you been drinking all night. Gotta get to work on time, up before the sunrise. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass.
So, first verse. What do I feel? So obviously he's talking about the dichotomy, excuse me, if I can get my words out properly, dichotomy between white trash and hillbillies and the different stereotypes thrown at this group of people and the things that they go through on the day-to-day, and just talking about it's just chaotic, it's unstable, a lot of sounds like from an impoverished setting. He's in the trailer park. Obviously the visual along with the lyrics is very impactful, and then the beat is the banger. I love the beat. But yeah, so he's just giving his perspective, white trash, and he's not, he's just embracing it and talking about the different things that goes with that, and then being the difference between white trash and hillbilly going out there. I like the one where he's shooting the buck in the middle of the week. And he just, Calhoun could spit, man. I really like this guy. He has a really East Coast type of style. I really enjoy that. But yes, so far so good. I haven't heard anything too controversial. I wonder how this is going to tie into the racism theme. So let's get back into this video.
What the fuck you rapping for? Nigga ass nigga got your sagging pants with your ass hanging out the back, hanging out in front of liquor stores selling crack, just so you could put some 24s on your Cadillac. Baby mama bitches, you ain't taking care of business. All you do is smoke weed, run around with other bitches, and you can't keep a job cause you in and out of prison. Guess it must be Trump's fault cause you making bad decisions. That's about niggas, but what about black folk? Raise their kids right every night. Mom and dad are home, hunting for a job, not crying about a privilege. Crying out to God, stop the violence where we live in. Fuck it though, you a nigga, and I'm just a cracker. They pin us against each other, sit back and they watch it happen. In the hood, they selling crack and killing over shoes and jackets. In the trailer park, they fall apart, a bunch of Mac daddies.
Okay, I see.
I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass. They call me redneck, white trash, say it back. I don't care, kiss my ass. I don't care, kiss my ass.
All right, Adam Calhoun, racism. Let's talk about that. Woo! All right, Adam Calhoun coming out. Wow. Okay, that's how you really feel. Okay. So before we get into the broader conversation, let's talk about that last verse. Talking about, I don't use the N-word personally. It's not something that I have in my vocabulary, a daily vocabulary. I don't like using the word. I don't think it serves the black community it doesn't serve us anymore. I get it where it came from, taking the word back. I just don't see it being used. I don't see it being served for us in the best way. I think it's just another way to exploit black folks, and I don't engage with that. Not like I've never said it before. I'm not saying that I've never said it before. I haven't used it, but I'm getting older, understanding, looking into the landscape, kind of the culture, especially in the black community. I'm just like, I'm good. I've had my fill, and I'm not offended that he said it because I understand where he was coming from. And he was talking about, this is the stereotypes for black folk, for that. And then he said, what about black folks? And this is what they go through. And they try to put us together, and they just throw us these little things in the media, and then they just throw this out there, the red meat out there. We just keep biting on it, and we're doing this when we should be doing this. Is the overall message of what he's trying to say. But I got some shit to say. First and foremost, I don't care that he used the N-word. My concern is, and this is a broader question, it just kind of comes back to racism and white people. Can white people experience racism? Yes. Can white people have similar experiences to black folks today when it comes to racism? I'm sure there are. This is like to me, this is very surface level because it doesn't explain the intersectionality between class and race. And what he's talking about is class, specifically for white people. Okay. And just hear me out before you just like, God, what you don't understand. He's the messiah of rap and he's just trying to bring it. Just chill. Let me explain something. I know white people can be racist and can have racism and be prejudiced and people hate white. I'm not here for that, okay? I know white people experience racism. I'm not here to say they don't. But to compare racism between black people and white people is irresponsible because it doesn't talk about the intersectionality of class and what's really going on, right? Racism in America, I'm not talking about around the world, so don't save your comments. In this country, okay, primarily racism has been about subjugation of black folks and other indigenous groups in this country, whether that be Latino, the indigenous people of this country, immigrants, whatever the case is, and that's a whole different conversation, and we're not going to go down that path. But for black folks in particular of the African diaspora, racism in this country is not just, on the Webster definition, which is, let's look it up. Let's look up the definition of racism, right? Racism. So, racism, definition, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular race, ethnic group, typically one that is minority or marginalized. A belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. Theories of racism. Okay. Got it. We all understand now when we have this conversation when I'm saying racism. I'm going to add another and not broader definition, but a more understanding of what's going on in this country. Racism is not just about individually being prejudiced against, because everybody experiences that, but it's a system in place that's built around subjugation of one type or people, particularly African American folks, right? So you had slavery, then you had Jim Crow, which is not that far. Like I'm telling you guys, Jim Crow was literally. We have people who were like that. I know that are a lot of our families, black folks' families that were kids or teenagers at the time, and are like just middle aged. That experience what Jim Crow was really about, right? We all look at it through our lenses because we're all seeing it in black and white. We think it was like years and years ago when it really wasn't. Okay, so that's something that we're still overcoming as a country, and that's the lens that African Americans in this country have dealt with oppression. It's through racism. Okay. Now, has white people experienced racism? Yes. Definitely experienced prejudice. And you could say there's a lot of prejudice now against white people. If you want to go down that path, I wouldn't argue against it. You know, I can see that. I have no issue with that. What I have an issue with is when white people look at their oppression through the lens of racism. That's not the experience of most white folks in this country. What white folks experience and the oppression that they experience is more through class, not race, right? So that's where the confusion comes in, because I hear this a lot. Well, you know, black folks can be racist, or this could be racist, and white people can experience racism. And my answer to that is like, no shit. Nobody's said that you can't experience those things. But on a more macro level, and when we're talking about these things of racism and prejudice, we're talking about systems in place built by an the oppressor, right? Just whatever not just white folks. There's always there's always like a antithesis, Hegel dialectic. Look that up. Talk about antithesis and the thesis and the cycle of overcoming that said oppression, coming up with a new system. But ultimately, there's an oppressor, and then there's the people that are being oppressed, and then the oppressor, and there's systems in place that are there to keep those people oppressed, right? And I like what he's saying, because he's basically saying, yo, look at these different stereotypes, look at how they try to pit us against each other. But he's only using the lens of race, and that's not, he's starting a conversation, so I'll give him credit for that, but that's not where it should end, nor is it something that I think most white people should be looking at when it comes to their oppression, because everybody is oppressed. Everybody has oppression to deal with, right? Black folks, mainly in this country, were oppressed because of race, the color of their skin. That's the experience of a lot of black folks from the 60s, 70s on down into slavery. And a lot of us still experience racism today, but I would say it's not as impactful as it used to be. I have a lot more rights. You guys, obviously, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I love my guns. If you're big in the Second Amendment, check out this book called Negroes with Guns. Okay, if you're big on Second Amendment, I think you should read that, because it tells you and shows you, especially you gun rights activists, how laws and bills are implemented, because most of these go through poor, impoverished communities and communities of colors first, and then they get sprinkled out to the other sectors of our society. Great read. I'd highly suggest it. Back to what I was saying. Ultimately, he's not wrong, but he's missing a key layer here for most, I would say, for most white people, and what white people experience in this country. And it feels like racism, because oppression is oppression. This is why from my understanding, why there's people fly the Confederate flag, even though I think that's just okay. Like, I don't have any issues with it. Per se. I'm not like, oh, Confederate. I know exactly what he's thinking. He's this and that. I don't do that. I don't typecast people by that. But it's just really weird. If we're trying to go, we have a hard enough time rallying behind the American flag. I don't think adding the Confederate flag is going to do us any. It's not going to serve anybody. That's my opinion. Like if we're trying to really move forward together in this country as one team, it's just if I saw my girlfriend wear her ex's boxes around talking about, well, I'm just like, we're not on the same team. Either we're on the same team or we're not. And I get why people, fly that flag, is their roots, deep south, whatever. But if we really want to move this thing forward, we need to just get you. I don't care, get you an American flag. Go ahead and put that in the museum or do your ceremonies. We got to do away with it, just like we got to do away with the N-word. In my opinion, white people need to just go ahead and just leave that in the past. Come to the 21st century and start building on the foundations that our forefathers have built to move this country forward, to walk as one. And I feel like black folks, we just need to drop the N-word because it's no longer serving us in the way that we think it is. It's just, now we're just being exploited. Okay. And it's not helping anything. In my opinion, it's not helping us move anything forward. Cool, we got a word, but I'd rather have land. I'd rather have property. I'd rather have things that I can pass down to my legacy. These are more important things to have than. But I get the message. I get why people do it. Oh, I'm saying a lot now, but back to what I was saying. I wish she would go more into the class aspect. Do white people experience racism in this country? Yes, 100%. Have white people experience racism in this country historically the same way black folks have? Absolutely not. It's not even comparable. And to try to compare it is to be ignorant to your history and not understand the intersectionality between class and race. Because what I'm not saying is white people weren't oppressed. That's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying white people were oppressed. I'm just saying they haven't experienced racism in the same way black folks have. And that's been very, very impactful on our communities and how we can pass down wealth generationally to our legacy. That's not arguable. White people haven't had that hurdle to have to jump over. What they have to deal with is class, right? Being in poor communities, you have your elites, and then you have your middle class and your poor, right? And you look at the French Revolution. Again, going back to Hegel's dialectic, having the antithesis and having the thesis and coming out with a new, because the people at the bottom got tired of the people at the top and said, fuck this, y'all are out of here because you're not doing what you need to be doing. That's the experience, right? That's where everything, the Boston Tea Party, even the Civil War, including obviously slavery was a big part of that, no matter how you try to cut it up. I know a lot of people like to use, well, it wasn't just about slavery. Well, no shit, Sherlock, but it was a big deal. It was like 90%, if not more, of what the hell the shit was about. Can I own people to do the things that I need to do? And it was obviously state rights and having the ability to do what you want and not telling me what to do. Obviously, those things were big. And maybe it wasn't 90% for some of you guys. Maybe it was like, oh, it was only 50%. Either way, it was very impactful to what that war was about. Not trying to negate any of that. Ultimately, though, the oppression that white people feel is classism. It's not racism. And what I see a lot happen is white people will take the lens of racism and look through the lens of racism. Like they'll take the black folks lens on racism, look through that and say, that's the same thing that I've been going through, when it's not. It's different. And that has to be said and has to be distinguished so we can actually have conversations come together and come up with solutions. Because if you think your problem is my problem, then the solution to your problem is the solution to my problem, when it's not. The solution to racism is a lot different, but similar, right? We're moving in the same direction, but it needs to be distinguished that we might have to, because we all experience classism onto a certain level, right? But the solution to classism is a little bit different to the solution of racism. This is why Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered, because it was cool trying to rally black folks, but when he was murdered in Tennessee, I think it was Tennessee, he was at a labor union with a bunch of white people there ready to listen, because they started being like, wait a minute, you can't gaslight us with racism anymore, because these black folks ain't really what you say they are, and you're actually the shit that you're doing to them, you're kind of doing to us on the low, but not through racism, but through oppressing us with our wages and our work. You guys understand what I'm saying, right? This isn't Fred Hampton murdered. Shout out to Adam Calhoun from Chicago. Fred Hampton was part of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panthers. Black Panthers were very key. They said it brazenly. We don't hate white people. We hate oppression, right? And then when I hear white folks talk about, oh, racism, and like, I get it. Nobody wants to be. Trust me, I get it. Nobody wants to be, nobody wants to experience racism. But what I would challenge all my viewers. I know a lot of you all are white, and a lot of people who are new here. What I would challenge you is take that lens, flip it, and look through it with the lens of classism, and you'll understand that is a more comparable, if anything, comparable topic to compare to how black people experience racism, even though there's obviously differences, but it's more comparable than how white people experience racism and how black people experience racism. Because there's never going to be a connect, because it's not even the same. It's not even the same thing. Not even close to the same thing. And it doesn't. You can't connect. You can't connect with that. As you can't connect with that. Your ancestors weren't subjugated and segregated from black folks. It was the other way around, and your parents weren't, or grandparents or great grandparents were able to buy housing, and if they weren't, it wasn't because of the race, it was because of class. Not racism. So that's why it's more comparable than just going from one to one. That makes sense. I said a lot in this, okay, and I wanted to get this off my chest because I was like, it's been something I've been needing to talk about, and we can go more into the details of it, but I just had to say that because it's a lot of my white friends, my white brothers and sisters, I have to really break this down so they're like, oh, so you're not saying that. So you're saying I'm like, yes, you're absolutely right when you said there's oppression. There's oppression definitely in the white community, but don't look at it through the lens of racism. You're not gonna see it there, right? That's why a lot of back in the day, and even some today, a lot of white people are gaslit by the elites to gatekeep race, right? Oh, it's them. It's not us. It's them. It's those Negroes over there. And at least, you're poor and you're broke, but at least you're not a Negro. And actually, they're the ones that are the threat. Go after them while they over here, the elites over here, hand over fist, taking all the money, telling you how much you can work, putting you in copious situations where you're taking on dangerous jobs and then starting wars, and then you see where I'm going with this, right? It's a very deep conversation. There's a lot that I didn't get into. There's a lot that I'm going to be missing. So feel free to go in the comment section and have the conversation with me, okay? I am not a cancel culture guy. I am not a, judgmental person. Everybody has their own opinions. Like you notice, I didn't lose my shit because Adam said the N-word. I don't really care about. I understand what he's trying to do. Only thing I was upset about is he didn't go deeper. It does a good job of starting a conversation though. And white people do experience oppression. That's a fact. Like I don't think that's a controversial statement. And if it is, I don't rather open the book. Like it's not a controversial statement. My biggest thing is how do I connect your oppression to something that's more relevant to your life? Because racism isn't the vehicle of oppression that white people have been driving in. It's classism. That's the driving factor to most of white folks' oppression historically in this country, right? And there's intersectionality between race and classism, but that's kind of where that's something that was missing from this video that I needed to express. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please go in the comment section, have the conversation with me. We're going to really get into this more, not more, but this was just to start the conversation. This isn't a political channel. This isn't, you know what I'm saying? I love everybody. I want everybody to come together, but we have to, in order to move forward, we have to understand how we got here, right? And I'm not saying that I'm impacted by racism the same way my grandma was. I'm definitely not. I have more opportunities now than what she had. And it's up to me to take set opportunities and move the culture forward for everybody, so we can live in the country that we say that we are, or say that we live in, right? We say we're the greatest country on earth. We say we're the best community on earth. We got to actually be that. So that's what I'm working towards, and I want y'all to come with me, work towards that, and we got to continue doing the work. And that's having the real raw conversations. And it may sound offensive, it may hurt, but I'm all about the back and forth. If you have any comments that you want to talk about, if you have anything that I said that you don't agree with, I'm all here for it. Everybody's welcome. Do you know me here? I welcome everybody. I don't care what you look like, and understand that you always have a place to come and have a place of refuge, have a place where it's safe for you to have your thoughts and your opinions without being judged, right? It's a judgment-free zone. So I welcome all conversations, all discussions. With that being said, we're almost at 30 minutes. I'm going to stop right now. I got some editing to do. This is a really dope video. Salute to Adam Calhoun. The brother is solidified. He has the stripes. Bro, I love his flow. His flow on this, baby mama bitching, and like, yo, he was killing it. He was chopping it up. So I love that, man. So it started a conversation. I think it started a conversation that we need to have, and I think it's great. And like I said, it's a beautiful thing when we can come together, even when we have such a differing opinions, and come together and find that connective tissue. And ultimately, that's what he wanted, because a lot of this, and we should be doing this, but it has to be under the right pretenses and under the right infrastructure of knowledge. And knowledge is power. Oh, and before we get out of here, guys, one last point for my white friends out there. While I can't tell you what to do, I can only advise you on what I think you should do. Until this conversation or this topic is broached on a deeper level, I will try not to use the N-word. Yeah, you may think it's just a word, but I can't promise you that if you say it in front of the wrong people, it's going to be a problem. Should it be? Is it fair that the rappers use it in a song that you love? Is it fair that black people can use it and white people can't use it? And maybe even other races of people can use it. Is it fair? No. But life's not fair. I don't use the word personally, but if you're trying to ingratiate yourself in hip hop, especially, this is what I said, exploitation, you want to use the word without understanding the impact of it. I don't think, and if you did understand the impact of it, you wouldn't even want to use the word. That's just me personally. With an A or ER, doesn't matter. And that's where I ended up. Personally, that's where I ended up. I understand the word, where it comes from, the roots of it, and I don't even want anything to do with it anymore. Not saying that I'm perfect, but I just don't. You won't see me, you won't hear me use it. If you do, it'll be a very specific reason for it. I don't just do things to do things. I have a purpose behind everything that I do. So, like I said, I'm not mad at Adam Calhoun for using the word, but I don't think he understands this conversation. I don't think he's done enough work to understand the impact of what that looks like. It doesn't feel like you're trying to bring people together, more so just tell people words are words, without understanding that there's a deeper conversation to be had. And for most of my white friends and family out there, I would argue that if you did that work, you would walk away probably not want to even use the word at all, because you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna stay away from it. And it ain't. And words are just words. I do agree, words are words. They shouldn't have any impact on you, but that's not how humans are built, right? Because if I say white privilege, then all of a sudden those words hit differently for a certain sector of society. You dig what I'm saying? Right? So those people saying that you shouldn't care about this word, but then I'll care about this word, it's very contradicting. I'm not saying any of you guys are doing it. I'm just speaking on my experience and with conversations I've had with people where I'm like, oh, this word's a word, so what about this? Oh, now that's offensive. So where's disconnect when I say this is offensive? So go out there and do what you feel is best for you. But as a white, if I were white, I would not be petitioning to try to use the N-word. There's a lot of other things that need to get done. And there's another conversation to have between cracker and the N-word, two different contexts. One word is used to label a sector of humanity as less than human. And the other one was to label a sector of society as an oppressive dominating, like the cracking of the whip, boom cracker. That's where that comes from. Not the same thing. Not saying it's right, but if you don't understand these things, you end up talking out your ass, and you end up wanting to do things and act a certain way, and you may be thinking that you're trying to help black people, but it's really exploiting black folks, and nobody wants to be exploited, and it happens to white people too, but in different ways, and that have not had nothing having to do with race. I can guarantee you that if it is race, it's a very individual experience. It's not a systemic thing that's being dealt with within that community. Back to your regular program. With that being said, y'all, you can go out there, you enjoy your day. Like I said, I might lose some of y'all. I might gain some of y'all. I don't know. I'm just gonna put this out there and see what happens. And you guys go and do what you want to do with it. Take the knowledge how you want to, take it. I would say I'm not perfect. I'm not saying everything I'm saying is perfect, but it's just my perspective. And I've done a lot of research into this, and that's where I'll leave it. So, love you guys. Remember, love, live, laugh, enjoy today. Good tomorrow, I promise. Until next time, my friends. Peace.